Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. What are the Toronto Blue Jays going to do with Alek Manoah and this fifth rotation spot? Is there options coming out of spring training? We'll get into all that and more coming up.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, Carter, it's a Friday. We're here. We're rolling. We're a day away from hockey playoffs. St. Patrick's Day social for us. It's a big day. The Donaldson A's jersey is getting ready to be pulled out of the closet. I'm pumped up. This is gonna be a fun weekend. It's a full day of hockey, beers, Blue Jays in between, and then a social. It's just like might be one of those perfect days. It's like ball weekend. It's just a perfect day.
Yeah, as if it kind of worked out for us. We got that 9 a.m. game, and then we're going to have, win or lose, 5 hours to kill. And just so happens, it's the Jays game at 12 o'clock. So that's going to be perfect. We'll probably have a couple beers. The only issue is going to be limiting those drinks with that 5-hour break. But like you said, St. Patrick's Day, that's a pretty big celebratory day in our town especially. I don't have any green right now, so I might have to make a trip to like Value Village or something, maybe throw on a $5 green t-shirt. Maybe I'll be dripped out with some beads. Who knows? Who knows what the fit will look like? But I'm excited for Beer League playoffs too. And there's a little bit of controversy going on. So I think it's going to be an exciting weekend.
Yeah, so in our league, the refs have been apparently not good. But, again, we've had bad reffing like pretty much all season long. If it's not one of two guys, if it's the third guy, it's horrible. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. The commissioner and the referee in chief had a discussion apparently yesterday. Guys are fighting. We don't know. I don't know. There's a guy named Dale Weiss. He's an ex-NHLer. And he was going off on Instagram in the comment section yesterday of a post or whatever, and people were going back and forth. So and we play them 9 a.m. Saturday, so it should be quite interesting. I said I might have to meet him at center ice if need be. If anybody's gonna get kicked out, it's going to be one of us.
Yeah, we got to just take one for the team. We know our role on the team. If they need us to take out Dale Weiss, I think that's a trade we're going to take. Nothing, obviously not trying to injure him. If we got in a fight with Dale Weiss, we would get our asses beaten. It would not even be close. But you got to take a beating for the team once in a while. So I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be a fun day. And obviously, I think from the sounds of it on this podcast, the fans are starting to know that everyone takes this way too seriously for a beer league hockey league. And that is kind of the fun of it, though, is that people get so mad when they're losing, and it is just hilarious to watch.
Yeah, it's nuts. And playoff weekends always crazy. Last year in the finals, I don't know, or the last couple years in the finals, there's been just fight after fight after fight. So it's been just crazy. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. We actually are competing this year, or hopefully we'll be competing this year. So it'll be actually more fun than us getting bounced first game and then, having to try to find something to do until the social. So, it's going to be nuts. I'm pumped. But, we sort of got talking with actually some of the guys on our team over the past little while, just about the Blue Jays and the podcast and whatever. And it always comes up about what's going on with Alek Manoah. And of course, we've talked Alek Manoah to death, but it is in question. What are the Toronto Blue Jays going to do with this fifth rotation spot? There's a couple injuries. Manoah hasn't been pitching in spring training, and when he did, he didn't look good. So what is going to happen? Carter, I'm not gonna bring up spring training yet. Do you still think Alek Manoah is going to be our fifth rotation guy starting the season?
Well, the problem is it's not even just Alek Manoah's injured. Our ace, Kevin Gausman, has some shoulder fatigue as well, and they're missing their ramp-up process of the spring training. So even if they do get to pitch in the last week of spring training, I don't think either of them are going to be ready for opening day. So that leaves us with 2 starting rotation gaps, which is even worse. But luckily, we have had Bowden Francis make huge strides. Alek Manoah is just interesting to talk about for that fifth rotation spot in general. We got Mitch White here, Paolo Espino. As for Manoah with having that fifth spot, it's tough to even try to give that to him just with how he's pitched in the past. He had that one start of spring training. It's tough to take too much away from that, but that's the only sample size we were given. So that's the only thing we can kind of break down here. It wasn't good. He plunked 3 batters, the same problems we had all of last season. So now I think we got to move on to Bowden Francis and just how electric this guy's been. I think no matter what, in any way, you get all these pitchers back, Gausman and Alek Manoah start. Bowden Francis is the fifth guy in this team. And I am standing to that now. Just looking at his spring training stats, like his start today was unbelievable. He had 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, no walks, 2 Ks. That's ridiculous for spring training. He's not even ramped up yet. He wasn't even supposed to go into the 5th inning, and he's pitching 6 innings. I'm taking that every day of the week.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point we made this statement early into spring training and said we said it should be a competition. Have these guys battle it out. Whoever does better in spring training starts in that 5th rotation spot, because we both saw Alek Manoah maybe not having the strongest bounce back ever. We definitely didn't expect this. This is like otherworldly here. But if it was a competition of who earned the right to this 5th rotation spot, it is easily Bowden Francis, like miles away from anybody else right now. And why not roll with him? If Manoah's not back, let him heal, let him get some more time to ramp up, and just let Bowden Francis deal. Let's see what he can do against actual MLB talent. Don't get me wrong, he has faced some, but not to the extent of a full regular season game, especially not one of the first 5 games of the season, right?
No, 100%. And with Alek Manoah, I think this could be a blessing in disguise as well. You let Bowden Francis take that 5th starting role, and that allows him to take his time in the minor leagues and not to rush to the major league roster. He can make a few starts in the minor league, start ramping up, figure out his command, kind of get things back to how he was in 2022, or even just like half of that, to be honest. But now this is an interesting situation because Bowden Francis, for me, it's a given. No questions asked. This guy will be in the starting rotation at the start of opening day. His spring training stats are nuts as well. He had a 1.93 ERA with 14 innings pitched so far, 12 Ks, a whip of 0.93, and a .216 opponent average. And then in his 2023, so that's, again, small sample size, he only had 13 innings pitched, 2.08 ERA, 8 hits, 15 strikeouts, 6 walks, a whip of 1.08, and an opponent average of 174. So this was out of the bullpen last season, so it's a little bit skewed, I guess you could say. It's not going to translate exactly to his starting rotation roles, but he's been every opportunity you've given Bowden Francis. He has shown that he can be, from the numbers, an elite starting pitcher, an elite pitcher in the MLB. So this is absolutely a given for me in this starting role. What makes this interesting is if Kevin Gausman's not ready to go either, which I don't think he is. I don't think he's going to have enough time to ramp up. Who is the 5th starter now? Yariel Rodriguez still having some injury concerns. He's not able to ramp up. Mitch White is the next option, I guess, which wasn't great last season. I mean, he was dealing with a lot of injuries, but the numbers weren't there. He only pitched 12.2 innings, but at a 7.11 ERA. Was a little bit better in the minor leagues, but nothing to beat your eyes at all. He has one thing with Mitch White, which is nice to see, is that his velo has been spiking. He's been up to 98 with his fastball, so that is cool to see. He might be able to get away with some more errors. And then the other guy on this roster, the only other choice, in my opinion, is Paolo Espino. And this guy's slowly starting to make a little bit of a case. So, like, if he only has to start for 2 starts for the first 2 weeks of the season, I'm not going to be overly mad about this from what he showed in spring training. He has a 2.25 ERA, 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 home runs, 12 strikeouts compared to 2 walks, and a 1.72 opponent average. Those are pretty good numbers from a guy that you're not really expecting to have a major league role, or a significant major league role, to say the least. A guy that was supposed to just give us starting pitcher depth. So if you have to go to Mitch White or Paolo Espino for a couple starts, it's not the worst thing in the world. But then if we have an injury to one of these 5 starting pitchers with the way Alek Manoah is playing, we might be in some trouble with the starting rotation.
So, yeah, I'm gonna fight a little bit on you with the Pablo Espinal stuff, is because I think this is, if it push comes to shove, it's going to be Mitch White. Which, does he deserve it? Probably not. But I think just how this management thinks, he's a bit more proven, he's more experienced. I think they would go with Mitch White to, the dissatisfaction of us. But yeah, I don't want to think about a world where Kevin Gausman is injured for more than, a couple games this season, right? But it's always, I think we got so lucky at the throughout the entirety of last year of having really no major injuries to any of these guys. Of course, Manoah wasn't where he needed to be, even close, but no major injuries, and that helped us a ton. If the bats would have been on last year, we could have had a really, really, really good season. So looking ahead, yeah, I think Bowden Francis is in opening day. I don't think that there's going to be a question about that. But yeah, if I had to make a prediction, I would assume if Kevin Gausman has to miss as well, I would assume it's going to be Mitch White.
See, there's another way that we could take this as well. And there's been a little bit of people talking about this on Twitter, Instagram. It's definitely not the common theme around the league, but Alek Manoah, in terms of his future with the Blue Jays, if he comes back and he has the same down season as last year, he doesn't have a lot of value right now. But if he's not good again, his value goes to zero. I think there's at least a couple teams that still see a little bit of potential in Alek Manoah. Maybe that is the Blue Jays. I'm not completely giving up on Alek Manoah yet, but there have been some talks of maybe moving on from Alek Manoah.
Yeah, and I'm all over Twitter. I'm scrolling pretty much all day. Um, and yeah, there has been a common theme here of what do we do if we end up going down the same path as last year. The problem with that for me is I don't know if we're at that point yet. But like you said, how long do you wait before you pull that trigger when maybe that trade value is almost zero? So me looking, I know where the panic button is, and I'm like getting ready to reach for it a little bit on him. But I don't want to write him off yet because we, again, like you said, we've only seen him in one spring training start this season. And yeah, it wasn't good, but there's a lot of room to bounce back here, I think. And I think as Jays fans, we almost have to pray for that because I don't think we want to get into a situation where we have to trade him. And then if we get nothing back from that trade, which really is, I don't think we would get a ton back right now. That it just it's sort of like lets the air out of the tire a little bit, I think, for this team, and that could be a problem going forward.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different ways we can deal with this Alek Manoah situation. There could be a trade. There could be just releasing him, which I think would be a horrible idea. You could just stick it out. We're really going to break down what we could see if there was a possible trade for a trade package, what we think we should do with Alek Manoah. We're going to break that down after these breaks here. Today's sponsor is Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from another retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk and including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, members SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer.
Okay, to some gambling. This episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on big upset or the one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I have been hitting their live same game parlays like a madman because I keep winning. I keep winning, Carter. I haven't lost. I don't know how many episodes it's been since I've lost last, but it's been a while. I don't know what it is. I'm using their pre-made ones, and they just keep working. They keep working. Matthews has made me money just himself, I think. But visit FanDuel.com. Get that bonus. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Well, Carter, you teased them. What are we going to do with Alek Manoah? I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know what the right answer is. And this is probably how Jay's management is feeling right now. They have no clue, I don't think, in their mind of what they're going to do with Alek Manoah. And I think that's a big problem heading into this season. What are the options here?
Yeah, just going back to 2022, Just thinking about how Alek Manoah was in 2022 and how many people wanted us to extend Alek Manoah to a huge contract. Thank God we did not do that, because look where he is now. But for the options for Alek Manoah, the really only ones that make sense in my head are you trade him, you put him down in the minor leagues, start the season, you let him work up, you let him kind of earn his way back onto this major league roster, or you decide to kind of gift wrap him a spot in the starting five and you just say, good luck, Alek Manoah. And it's pretty much like you're gambling on FanDuel if Alek Manoah is going to be good or not this season. So there's a bunch of different ways that this could go, obviously, a bunch of different perspectives on the situation. I don't know where I'm at either, because when I look at a guy like Javi Baez, he just fell off the earth as well, and he's being terrible again this spring training after one of the worst seasons of his career. So if you explore a trade for Alek Manoah, obviously that does leave us with some starting rotation depth problems, because your next guy, other than Bowden Francis, when Kevin Gausman comes back, is Mitch White. We did already comment on that and how we don't really have full trust in him. It would be okay if he has to make a couple spot starts, but this isn't a guy you want to rely on. And with the Jays offseason so far, with signing guys like Joey Votto, I know it's a minor league deal, but Justin Turner, some of these veterans, maybe there is a scenario where we do see a trade with Alek Manoah and we do sign a veteran. I know there is Zach Greinke's available, Rich Hill, who must be a million years old at this point, but it doesn't matter to see him for the Blue Jays. I know Johnny Cueto is still available. That's another interesting one. And then there's like the top of the market guys, which I don't see the Jays going after, but they are still there. Jordan Montgomery would be a great addition to this team. I'm not complaining about that at all. And Blake Snell, previous NL Cy Young winner, obviously don't have to say much there. It's just, if you do decide to trade Alek Manoah, there's going to be some backlash from the fan base, the part of the fan base that wants to keep him. Some people might be happy, and obviously you're not going to get anything that Alek Manoah was worth in 2022, and then you're taking the risk of him taking this a little slower into the season and then bouncing back, and then you're like, what did we just do?
Yeah. Well, and of course, that's always the problem, right? You can't predict the future. And I think that's what we have to remember when GMs make these trades. And you can't predict the future. You don't know what's going to come. You don't know if Alek Manoah is going to be just horrible and might never play again, or if he's going to be the best player alive. You have no clue where he's going to end up. Yeah, the options, Carter, I don't mind if a trade had to happen or needs to happen, to go and pick up a guy like Blake Snell on a short-term deal, or a Montgomery pickup. I like both of those options. If push comes to shove, I think that would round out the five extremely well. I was going to make a joke saying that R.A. Dickey is already there. We might as well just give him a glove and tell him to hop on the mound at this point. But I mean, of course, he's a great pitcher, but it's nice to see that he is helping out with some of these pitchers, but I don't know what's going to help Alek Manoah. I don't know if there's a human being alive right now that could help Alek Manoah. I think it's one of those things where it's the yips, and you just got to get through it. But how long do you wait for him to get through that? Like, do you think we can, honest to God, wait of another season of him being just horrible?
Well, and that's the other option, is that we always discuss on this podcast. The Blue Jays window is going to change a lot at the end of the 2025 season. That's when Vladdy is at the end of his contract. That's when Bo Bichette's at the end of his contract. So many other guys are going to be lost during that season. Do you have time to wait for Alek Manoah to hopefully figure it out when your window is passing as we speak? Or is it time to just move on, just kind of cut your losses, take what you can get, and maybe send him away with the Santiago Espinal deal? Do I see that happening? Probably not. Do I hate that solution? It really depends on what we get back. I don't think the fan base is going to be happy with whatever we get back, no matter what, if we traded him right now. So I think the best thing to do with Alek Manoah, unfortunately, is to play the slow game, let him develop, let him kind of try to get back to how he was in 2022, develop that command, get used to the everyday routines, because his injury obviously isn't helping him because he didn't pitch much last season. So I think, unfortunately, you got to play the waiting game with Alek Manoah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a fair take, because I'm trying to sort of, as we go through the episode, think, okay, what would I do? What would I think? What would fans want to happen? And I think it's so polarizing. It's one of probably the most polarizing topics surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays right now, is what to do with Alek Manoah. So I don't know. You know what? I would love to see a poll. I might put out this poll on Twitter tomorrow and say, I'm going to give you 3 or how many options you can on Twitter. I don't even know. I'm going to give you a couple options. I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm going to say, Kate, let us know. Let the fans speak so that we have sort of an idea where everybody's at as well. If you want to check out my Twitter, it's Braden5 Wasco. Carter first two. He'll probably retweet it or something. I don't know. I don't even know if you know how to use Twitter yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to figure out before the regular season. Like I said, I don't want to overreact too much in spring training yet, unless it's about Alek Manoah, because that's the only sample size we have. But saying that, I think there might be a fix for Alek Manoah that I've just thought of. So this is what the Blue Jays have to do. They got to appeal to the umpire commission, and we got to get Angel Hernandez every single game. Every game, we need him behind the plate.
Yeah,
that Alek Manoah
because the guy would be hitting the box, and somehow Angel Hernandez would somehow find a way to call that a strike.
Exactly.
So I think that is the best option, Carter. Maybe we call up the I don't know, the ump committee or whatever it's called, and me and you make a case for Angel Hernandez this season.
Maybe I could say, like, hey, Angel Hernandez, like, I've always looked up to you. Like, I've been mentoring under you for a long time. Let me go out there with Alek Manoah. I can ump for Alek Manoah. I'll help him out a little bit here.
Yeah, you've done some umping. You could be out there if, you took it, like, really seriously. Some of those guys that take umping really seriously, like, scare me slightly. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you were one of those guys back in the day. Like, you'd give a hard strike call. You'd do the old chainsaw, and the 7-year-olds looking up at you like, what's going on?
I would wind it up. I go like this, wind it up, and then get out of here.
Nice.
So yeah, the parents didn't like me, but the players did, because I was a good ump. But I think I might be able to be better than Angel Hernandez, and I think I could definitely help Alek Manoah get back on track with his career.
I think a cinder block could be better than Angel Hernandez, to be honest with you.
It's actually crazy how that guy's still umping. But in all seriousness, Alek Manoah just needs to figure out his command. He's never going to be a good pitcher again if he can't consistently throw strikes. If he's plunking 3 guys a game plus that, it's not going to work out in this Alek Manoah saga.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes on. And you know what? We did a little bit of talk of previewing the season on this sort of special day we have going. So as you know, Locked On has launched their first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. We talk about it all the time. Locked On Sports Today is what it's called. Baseball fans, mark your calendars for March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern for the best MLB season preview, coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. On March 20th, I'm going to say it again, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Be the first to get local insight from MLB local experts on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find it. I'm going to say it once more. March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. We're going to get into the Alejandro Kirk player profile, another guy that I think we've waited such a long time to do. We're going to do it today. We're getting to the end of our list here. There's only a few guys left. We want to save them, but I was sort of eating away at me. Kirk is one of those guys that I just always want to talk about. So we'll get into him next. We'll break his season down, his preview down. We'll do it all coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV, whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament. You're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On Sports and most of the the pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest in the sports world, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking, might as well throw in there. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. Carter, sometimes I do these ads and my mouth moves, and I don't even know if there's anything going on up here, to be honest with you. It's just one of these. I did my first weekend shift at the radio station this past weekend. And so on those shifts, it's a 12 to 6 shift. And I do the weathers every 15:45, right? So I had a bunch of ads, and I realized that, like, I don't know if it's doing this and doing that. Now it's just like this at work. I'm just spitting them off. I'm reading the weather, and I'm like, I might as well be up there like pointing at stuff too, because I get my hands involved. I'm just all action, no thinking, just
Yeah.
hands are moving.
Soon you're going to be able to memorize these ads. Maybe you'll have to do a nice close ad read one time, just right off the dome. But considering how often we have these FanDuel ads, such a great sponsor. I know they're Amazon Fire. That's becoming more common too. So it's going to be interesting to see. We'll have to test your memory skills coming up podcast. But it's nice to see that you're working your weather job and just serving the people. You know, people always want to see, especially in the summer, what the weather's like.
Well, you see, I go from weather, I go to sports, I go to, I don't know, I produced the news show too. That it was actually a blast today. We had some good talk. It was hilarious. It was sort of hilarious. I work with Richard Kluche, Julie Buckingham, two of the best there is. They were unbelievable today. I just thought they were firing on all cylinders. Fun day at work. It's nice to have those. Christian O'Mell with the sports show on 680 CGOV was awesome as well. Fun to work with those guys today. But I do want to get into Alejandro Kirk. It's enough talking about me personally, because whatever, I had a fun day at work, and I was, I'm in a good mood today, Carter. I got MLB The Show waiting for me. It starts at, or I guess tonight, so it'll be Friday, but it's like 11:30 here right now. And MLB The Show drops at 1 a.m. So I will be staying up to rip MLB The Show, and I'll try to find out if they like sort of did any of the Jays dirty this year. But I did want to get into Alejandro Kirk. Finally, let's do it. Let's get into it. I'll give you his stats, Carter. Me and you will have a little talk, see what we think is coming for Alejandro Kirk. 1.9 WAR, 372 at-bats, 93 hits, 8 home runs, a 250 batting average, 43 RBI. He slugged a 358, and his OPS was a 692. Not the best stats from Alejandro Kirk this past season, but I think we all could see that he was a little off. And I think that him not getting the spring training was a huge part of that. He just didn't get that warm-up, didn't get that lead-in, didn't get that practice, and you could really tell that he just didn't look like himself.
Yeah, how could you, Alejandro Kirk? How could you have your firstborn child during the spring training? Shame on you. But no, obviously you're going to take the time off. Well earned for Alejandro Kirk. It looks like everything went well. His child is healthy, so that's good for him. Yeah, it's just tough to start the season without getting those spring training at bats. We saw it with Brandon Belt last season too. Looked like just a huge bum at the plate for the first, honestly, month of the season. But Alejandro Kirk just never could really find it after that weird start for him at the start of 2023, which kind of sucked for Jays fans watching because he was so good in 2022. Being an all-star silver slugger, he hit 285, 14 home runs, 63 RBIs, an OPS plus of 127. And a guy that is so good as a contact hitter, does not strike out pretty much ever, has a strikeout percentage of 10.7 that last season. And that's exactly the same as it was in 2022, which I found was very interesting. And he's been working towards a pretty good spring training so far. And we can see a little bit of a Alejandro Kirk bounce back season coming in the midst of us right now. In this spring training, he has 23 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, an even lower strikeout percentage somehow of 8.7% and a 304 average. This is one of my most prime bounce back candidates. I think, honestly, even more than Vladdy. I don't know. It's not going to be the same. Obviously, like he's not going to hit 40 home runs or whatnot. Yeah. In terms of how he was last season and how he's going to be this season, I think he's going to have a bigger jump than Vladdy. I see Alejandro Kirk going back to closer to the 2022 level. He's made huge jumps defensively as well. Just looked great. He had blocking the plate. He was in the 99% of blocking pitches from going to the backstop. His pop-up time wasn't amazing, but he was throwing out runners. He was playing the catcher position very well. And just going off of his 2022 season compared to 2023, pretty much all of his numbers were down significantly. In 2022, his expected on-base percentage was in the 95th percentile. This season, it was 71st. His expected batting average was in the 92nd percentile. This season, it was 53rd. So just a down year for Alejandro Kirk. And I think that all stems from what you said, Braden, the way he came into the season. He didn't get that proper prep that he had all these previous years. And he never really found his footing throughout the season.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that's going to affect anybody. Like you brought up Brandon Belt, and that's a perfect example, right? These guys just not being able to get that comfortability, right? And I think, and even with the team, right? Like being around your teammates, it brings you into the atmosphere, and when you don't get that, sometimes, yeah, it's going to affect you. And I think this year, like you said, we're already seeing incredible numbers from him. It does look like he's going to have a great bounce back. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a bigger bounce back than Vlad. I think I'm a little bit like I'm heavy on Vlad on this one. But I would love to see another Alejandro Kirk amazing years. If he can somehow win another Silver Slugger and get another, get into the All-Star game again, that'd be just blow me away. I'm one of the biggest Alejandro Kirk advocates. So if this could somehow happen and he can have a huge bounce back, and I mean, if he can keep up his hitting stats, I think we might have a number one here of who's going to be our main catcher this season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how they deal with that split between Kirk and Jano. Obviously, there's pitchers that prefer one catcher compared to the other, but with Jano's injury history, we're hoping that he doesn't get injured. But Alejandro Kirk, there has been instances where he's had to take the main workload because of Jano's injuries. So I think with Vladdy as well, I know you referenced him as well. I want to see Vladdy actually do it rather than all this talk about Vladdy getting better, whatever it is. Actually do it and get better and do what you did in 2021 or even close to that. If you can start hitting for more power, I'm good with that. But back to the Alejandro Kirk stuff, if he can come back and kind of do what he did in 2022 for a guy that's probably going to slot into the number 5 hitter in this lineup, that is going to be lethal when you have Justin Turner in front of you. Hopefully a Vladdy bounce back, Bo Bichette, then George Springer. And then you got all these guys behind you with Dalton Varsho looking good in spring training. Kevin Biggio, another guy that might be able to drive him in. And one thing not so baseball related about Alejandro Kirk, he might be one of my favorite players to watch on the baseball field, especially when he's ripping around the bases, because it's not unknown that he's slow, but he tries his hardest. And that's why I love him as a baseball player, because you can tell he's giving it his all around those bases.
We've talked about this. This is why baseball is one of the best sports, right? Because Alejandro Kirk and, say, Bo Bichette, two very different players, but they can both succeed at a very high level, which is just amazing. And yeah, Alejandro Kirk, one of my favorite guys to watch. He might be like, maybe we'll do like a draft of who's like top 5 each of us favorite players to watch one day coming up. We got lots of time before the season starts. We might as well do something fun before then, right?
You say we have lots of time, but this is the 2-week until the opening day for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that's going to absolutely fly by.
I think so as well. I sort of meant lots of time for us. We still have like 10 episodes before. So, in 10 episodes, I think we can fit it in there somewhere.
Yeah, we can definitely figure that out. Maybe we haven't done a draft segment in a while. Comment if you guys like those draft segments. I think it's been for sure 2 weeks. Just as spring training has been jam-packed. So we've had more than enough to talk about. But saying that, thank you guys for watching. Before we do head out, I want to bring up our Locked On 24/7 streaming channel one more time. NFL free agency has been absolutely ridiculous. I think NFL free agency is one of the best free agencies in all of sports. And you just have so many random players going to random teams that you never really expect. So it's a perfect opportunity to go to our Locked On Sports Today channel. Just go over there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can tune in whenever you want. Whenever you want to digest your sports content, just head over there. 24/7, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever you want. Perfect opportunity.
Yeah, Carter, you know what? It seems like the weeks just fly by when me and you do this podcast. And it's sort of nice, right? Like you get home from work or school or something, and me and you just sit here and talk Blue Jays. And honest to God, I couldn't ask for something better to do. And you know what's funny is I'm going to talk about Blue Jays. I'm going to sit down. I'm probably going to watch an episode of, something related to Blue Jays. And then I'm going to go play MLB The Show. So my life right now is just a dome of baseball. That's all it is. It's baseball. And then Saturday, it'll be like hockey. But like the rest of the time, it can be baseball.
Well, and then right after Saturday, it's time to dial into our slow pitch season. So it's right back to baseball right after that.
That's right. No better time of year. We're pumped. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Again, check out our Twitters, Braden5, Uwasco, Carter First 2, and subscribe on YouTube. It really helps out. We'll be bringing you guys an Instagram account as well. So if we're ever out doing something or talking about the podcast or putting together reels or TikToks or shorts, or I don't know, there's a million versions for these little short videos, but whatever. Either one, whatever one you want to pick, we have lots for you guys to watch. You can check out our TikTok as well, Locked On Blue Jays. And yeah, appreciate it. Join us again next week. We're going to have lots and lots and lots of more content to go over.